And back to arms sales.
Thanks, Mike. Yes, something we've talked about quite a bit before, but brought into focus really by the sort of inconsistency in the government's position, speaking out about people in Lebanon, British citizens in Lebanon, needing to get out and indeed deploying soldiers to Cyprus with the specific possibility of evacuating them, as opposed to considering that actually suing for peace and ceasing arming the Israelis might be a better course of action. So what I thought we'd look at is the sort of the two-way traffic in effect. And I just start with a picture from the RAFAEL defense website. You might think they were advertising teddy bears or something, but no, in actual fact, they are in the business of making weapon systems to kill human beings, despite the fact that was a soldier hugging two young children. It was founded in 1948 as part of the military science corps of the IDF. And I just want to give an insight into how arms fairs work. I thought I'd show David Shoebridge, an Australian senator here, a short video from an arms fair in Melbourne recently.
I'm down here in Melbourne, having literally just stepped out of Land Forces 2024, which is an extraordinarily dystopian festival of largely multinational arms manufacturers. And it's football field after football field after football field of exhibition space in the Melbourne Exhibition Centre, with arms manufacturers from the United States, the UK, Europe, Israel, all trying to get billions and billions of dollars more from Australian taxpayers. Because when you're in that space and you see all the highly paid execs, all the pamphlets, all the free food, every single dollar comes from the public. It's an extraordinary dystopian place to be. It was particularly disturbing to see multiple Israeli arms manufacturers there selling their products, saying that they had been battle tested literally in Gaza. That's their sales pitch. It's a pitch our government should be rejecting. But instead, the Albanese government is doubling down on it. And if you really want to know about dystopian, the whole place is run by a so-called charity, and it's tax deductible.
Well, David Lamy can say what he likes about empire building, but I think, although Shoebridge is Australian, I think he could speak well for the United Kingdom. And the reason I cited RAFAEL, of course, is they are an Israeli defence company, and we're not so much talking about sales of arms to Israel by the United Kingdom, but the other way around, the production of Israeli weapon systems that are used by the British Army. So I've talked about some of these before, but we've got first an automated vehicle for what's called a last mile capability, and this is Project Theseus. So RAFAEL's been awarded a $3 million contract. It's also worth pointing out that Horiba Mira, there cited, also have very close relations with Israeli companies. Further, we've got the Challenger 3 missile protection system, which actually was the trophy thing we saw advertised at first, trophy active protection system, to go on to Challenger 3 to provide enhanced protection against rocket and missile threats, basically to counter fire before being hit. And then another one, which is here by Royal Engineers Sky Sabre there. But critically, the interesting part is the brain here, supplied by RAFAEL, talking about the surface-to-air missile center command and control system, and that it links the tactical data link that allows Sky Sabre to communicate with the Royal Navy and Royal Air Force ships and aircraft, as well as UK allies. Now, specifically, the reason I refer to this now, of course, is with what happened last week in mind. Vanessa reported in very great detail about the attack on Hamas and the use of electronic devices, effectively communication systems, pagers and walkie-talkies, and think that the MOD has gone wholesale in with not just one, but many Israeli defense companies who, of course, do retain the overall intellectual property of all the technology they're designing and putting into our systems. So is that a sensible thing to be doing, is my question. The House of Commons provides the detail on how significant the arms trade is to Israel, because of course there was a hoo-ha recently about the prevention of certain sales, but they say that during the current Hamas-Israel conflict, some MPs have raised concerns about UK arms exports, citing that they could be used to violate international humanitarian law. And they go on to say that, They will not grant a license if it determines that there is a clear risk that the items might be used to commit or facilitate serious violation of international humanitarian law. Well, that seems to have been stretched to the absolute limit. But nonetheless, they did grant 42 million's worth in 2022, which it said is less than 1% of Israel's defence imports. That dropped to 18 million in 2023. So whilst it might be fair to say that the United Kingdom has less of an input into Israel arms sales, of course, we are taking a lot from them. But we'll just have a quick look at the fact sheet from SIPRI, the complete acronym I forget, but it's the Stockholm Peace Research Institute, and they've put forward an updated report on the trends across worldwide arms sales. So what's very significant given the geopolitical situation, and I would say with specific regard to Ukraine and Israel, exports from the United States have gone up by 17%, which takes their global share from 34% to 42% of all worldwide arms exports. They provide 69% of Israel's arms. Germany provides 30% of those. Russia's exports are down 53%, which of course we talked about before, and there's a very obvious reason for that. And Ukraine's imports are now equal to 23% of all those across Europe, which is very significant. The graphic illustration of this shows the chart, the enormous section on the right being the United States. France is the second largest seller of arms across the world, and then we've got the UK and Israel still in the top 10. So this is how things lie. But I think really the main question is, what on earth does the Ministry of Defence think it's doing, first of all, in not suing for peace in any of these countries, but specifically bringing Israeli technology into weapon systems and indeed control systems for United Kingdom weapons? It seems to make absolutely no sense at all.
Thank you, Charles. Just a quick correction. You said Hamas with respect to the pagers and whatnot. Of course, that was Hezbollah, which brings us on to the final segment.